Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I represent the border state of Arizona. I've heard from families in my community who have lost loved ones to fentanyl overdoses. This Congress has increased funding to Customs and Border Protection year over year, dedicated historic resources to modernize inspection equipment and other critical infrastructure at our ports of entry where most drugs are trafficked through. But we need to use every tool we have to combat this epidemic, to stop drugs from coming into our country and increase prevention and treatment efforts. The federal government must leverage the expertise of our partners in local law enforcement, business and civic leaders, NGOs, and faith-based organizations on both sides of the border. My bipartisan bill, the American Cooperation with Our Neighbors Act, tasks the Department of State and U.S. Agency for International Development with improving cooperation and collaboration between the United States and Mexico. Because this isn't just an American problem. Fentanyl is trafficked into the U.S. largely from a single source, Mexican cartels. These criminal enterprises manufacture this very lucrative, very potent, and very hard to track drug and fuel rampant corruption and violence in Mexico. Our bill will foster sustained and strategic collaborations to fight the fentanyl crisis, ensuring that we are using our resources and local expertise wisely. H.R. 2789 aims to improve coordination between the federal government and local leaders, businesses, hospitals, faith-based organizations who are working to combat the fallout from the opioid epidemic, like organizations treating substance abuse or creating alternatives to gang affiliation, and businesses that make fentanyl testing strips and innovate ways to keep our pharmaceuticals safe. It also focuses heavily on improving coordination between local law enforcement agencies, state and federal security forces, and our counterparts in Mexico by sharing data, creating professional development exchange programs, and supporting technical assistance to crack down on fentanyl traffickers. H.R. 2789 also addresses a critical issue for our neighbors in the Caribbean community: financial access and inclusion. For too long, countries across the Caribbean have struggled with limited access to financial services, curtailing economic growth and prosperity, and their capacity to advance regional security. These challenges have been exacerbated by devastating climate events, high cost of living, and restrictive banking models. This bill mandates a thorough review by the State Department in consultation with the United States Treasury of barriers and solutions to accelerate access to capital and financial services for the people of the Caribbean. This study will help us better understand how we can cooperate with our third border. I want to thank Congressman Kane for his partnership on these critical issues, and I urge my colleagues to join me in voting yes on H.R. 2789, and I reserve the balance of my time.
Gentleman reserves. Gentleman from Georgia is recognized.